This podcast contains some strong language and some stories involving violence. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Warfighters United. Today's podcast is brought to you by Modern Woodmen Fraternal Financial, an organization that will help us navigate life's most important decisions, from life insurance to college to financial planning. Modern Woodmen has your family covered. To find out more, become part of the Modern Woodmen family, go to modernwoodmen.org. So today I have a very special guest with me, a great friend of mine, Michelle Wager. She served in the National Guard and she was catastrophically injured, and one of many women who have been catastrophically injured. And so, Michelle, welcome to Warfighters United.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Michelle, I'd like to start out. You joined the National Guard when?
July of 99.
July of 99. And did you have any idea that you'd be put straight into Iraq in the later years of being in the National Guard?
No, but I mean, I knew what I was signing up for. And so you either figure you could get called up or not. But I kind of had a feeling something might happen after September 11th and our unit's deployment started stateside.
Yeah, and so you've been in the National Guard for a while before you deployed to Iraq. What was that like?
Deploying to Iraq? Oh, man. Exciting, I guess. Scary. I don't know. In some sort of way, you have maybe a false sense of security having all your brothers and sisters around you who also know what they're doing. So, yeah.
Of course. And so when did you deploy to Iraq?
We deployed, I think we were on ground in September of 06.
September of 06. And so the war had been going on for a few years. I'm sure the training leading up to that was quite extensive. But when you actually,
a little bit.
When you actually hit over into Iraq, what was that like when you got to the line of departure and realized that you were in a combat zone?
Well, we had we sort of had a week of downtime where they weren't ready to have us over there yet, so they had us staying in like the green zone. It was just our company there, and they had us in like this little tented off area. So it was almost like camping with your unit at first, and then we got the word that we were going to be flying over, and this is how we were going to do it. So we met like in the middle of the night with a whole bunch of choppers in a field, and they just started loading us onto the choppers. And I just remember flying over, and all you could hear was the sound of the blades, which sounded like a heartbeat, and a gunner out the back. And you could just see all these little fires lit throughout all the mahalas. I guess it was some sort of religious holiday or something was happening. So it was, in a way, it was kind of pretty, but it was also like, holy shit, man, here we go.
And so you hit the ground and you were with an MP unit, or?
Yeah, I was with a combat MP unit and hit the ground and moved in, and we did some training with the unit that was going out. I don't think we left the wire for like the first week we were there. No, when we left the wire, it was just go, just figure out where you're going. There really was no direction. That was probably the scariest part.
Yeah, and so did you drive the Humvee, or what was your main part in facilitating the coordination between going from place to place?
I was a team leader, so we had our driver and a gunner, and depending on who was with us that day, whether it be an interpreter or somebody else from the unit, we would have other people in our vehicle. And so I was in charge of radio, and if we were the front vehicle, lead vehicle, we were in charge of getting everybody to where we were going safely and then back.
Yeah, and what was that like? I'm sure you went on many missions and, seeing the Iraqi culture, the Iraqi people. I mean, coming from America, that's a whole different aspect of life.
Very different aspect of life. We learned about different handshakes, what not to do, what hand to use, just different foods and people and culture. And I don't know. I'm a friendly person, so of course I want to say hi to everybody, but it really doesn't work that way.
Yes, and I'm sure being on convoys all the time, especially in 2006 when improvised explosive devices really started taking off, and the number one killer of Americans, that were overseas.
True. Yeah.
That had to make you feel kind of uneasy on certain missions.
Extremely uneasy. We were always trained to look for things that looked odd or out of place. Well, everything over there looks odd and out of place. There's always garbage laying everywhere. There's wires laying everywhere. So, I mean, anything could have exploded at any time.
Yeah, and so in the beginning, what sticks out most in your mind about, just the Iraqi people and the culture and going from point A to point B, getting missions done? I mean, what was the happiest times over there when doing that? Did you have any?
Yeah, we actually had quite a few happy times. We did have some Iraqi interpreters and such that stayed on our fob with us, and so they would come hang out with us and things like that, and we would learn about them. They would learn about us. We would play volleyball out back, joke around. It was kind of like normal living, but occasionally you would hear some bombs or some missiles going overhead, so it'd snap you right back to real life quickly.
Yeah, and so, you're over there, you're doing missions, you're doing everything, but then came the day everybody dreads.
Yep.
Tell me about that day that you got catastrophically injured overseas.
Well, that weekend, my team in particular and a few other people were ordered to take out all of their bulletproof glass or whatever from all of their doors of their Humvees. I'm not exactly sure why, but we had to do that. So we did that on a Saturday, Sunday, and Monday was supposed to be our team's down day. And we got tasked to go out with a different squad to take vehicles to get up armored over in the green zone. So I thought it was kind of odd that they were going to let our vehicle out of the fob with just bare armor, nothing to protect us, to take other vehicles to go get armored. But an order is an order, so you do what you do, and out we went. And we ended up staying gone a little bit longer than we wanted to, and we left the green zone and started heading back. And we got to a particular point that's known for EFPs or IEDs and stuff like that. And we just turned the corner. I think we were the fourth or fifth vehicle in our convoy out of 6. We just come around the little corner, and it was either Brandon, who was our driver, or Derek, our gunner. One of them said, "I love you," and the other one said, "I love you too, man." And I just kind of looked out my window, and the explosion happened. And I just remember the thoughts that went through my head, and being rescued from our squad. That it took them a while to find us because it basically blew us off the road, and the roads aren't really well lit there. I think deep down, I'm pretty sure I knew what had happened, but in my mind, I was so pissed because we got a chance to go to the green zone where you can kind of drop your gear for a little bit, go grocery shopping, get some stuff. And I bought a steak. I was going to take home and actually eat a steak that night, and some clear nail polish because I'm a girl, and throw some clear nail polish on. I was excited for my evening back at the barracks. And I didn't quite make it there, and I didn't get to eat my steak that night.
Unfortunately, things happen. And so once the explosion happened, you said to your fellow soldiers, they came to your rescue. Do you remember anything about getting medevaced out?
I remember them getting me out of the vehicle. I remember they had shoved us in a Bradley. I guess there were some Bradleys in the area, and they saw the explosion and came over to assist. And all of our vehicles were filled, so they didn't have anywhere to put us. So the Bradley took us back. I remember a guy, I could hear his voice, and he kept smacking me in the face, telling me to open my eyes. And I couldn't because my eyelashes had fused shut from the heat of the explosion. And I later found out that Brandon was in there with us, and he had died instantly. And Derek had some pretty severe injuries. He had I think it was his right leg blown off below his knee. And then we had the interpreter with us, and he died too.
And you also had a loss of a limb, almost two?
I did. Yep. My left leg I lost above the knee, and my right leg was salvaged at the hip. If the hardware they didn't put inside of me didn't hold, I wouldn't have a right leg at the hip.
And you fought for them to put the hardware in there because they originally wanted to take it, correct?
Yes, and this was when I was back at Walter Reed, so it wasn't like a field hospital. They have the time and they could do it, but some of the doctors, surgeons there said they didn't want to, and I had a female surgeon fight for it, and she said, I think we should do it, and I agreed with her, and I'm still walking on that same rod 18 years later. Wow,
if it wasn't for her and you fighting for your, capability to salvage that limb, it could be a whole different story. Now,
absolutely.
You also, on the medevac out, you died quite a few times.
As far as I know, my paperwork said that I coded 3 times and they had to resuscitate me before they could clear me to fly over to a more safer area where we would be later airlifted home.
And so once you got home and you got to Walter Reed, that's a huge change for anybody to accept.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Oh, I think the first time I really realized that this was going to bother me, I think this might sound funny, but I was laying in my hospital bed with all kinds of stuff hooked to me, and a brand new video from Gwen Stefani came on. And I realized that I'm not going to dance again. Just that there would be a lot of things that I wouldn't be able to do anymore. So I had to get over the mental struggle of dealing with a limb loss and then dealing with having a body part gone and being accepted in normal society.
And that would be a struggle for anybody.
I agree. And I mean, I've been guilty of it, and I'm still guilty of it. When you see somebody that looks a little different than you, of course you look out of curiosity, but some people can be really cruel.
Yes. I've seen that happen on a few different occasions, and it really infuriates me, another veteran, to see stuff, the cruelty of what America's nature can be. And so how long were you at Walter Reed?
I was there about 8 months. I ended up making the decision to leave. I probably would have been there another year or so, but they had a new unit come in that was fresh from deployment that was running all of us broke veterans. And they were trying to run it almost like where am I trying to go with this? Like day one boot camp. And you had to be, at the gym to report and do all this stuff. And it's like these people can barely get up in the morning, but you got to be there to, show them you got your canes and your wheelchairs. And it got really hard to be there because their mentality was still over there and they weren't realizing that we were all really broken. So other than dealing with that, the care was wonderful. The nurses, the doctors, everybody was great. But I think most people heal better at home, so I felt it was time for me to go.
And so you got back home around 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
What were the next few years like?
Really quite difficult. I had a lot of issues with medication. I was taking 23, 24 pills a day, some for pain, some for this, some for that. I realized that I really didn't want to do that anymore. And I went and sought treatment at the VA in the Hines VA in Chicago. And I spent a couple months there, and I got off all my medication. And I think that was the best thing I did for myself. And I think the VA tries to drown you too much in heavy medication, and you cannot think clearly. So once I got off all my medication, I could think really clearly and really started a fight for myself, because then I started realizing I had so many other physical issues wrong with me.
Yeah, I mean, I could only imagine, once you got cleared up, and just like you, being put on all those medications, I've been there too, and until I got off all those, I stopped being a zombie and started realizing what being a person could be like. Yeah.
Which is actually a wonderful thing.
Yes, it is. And when I first met you, probably around 2011-ish, with Doug Pickle, and we were awarding you the Purple Heart plaque, just meeting you touched my heart. And seeing some of the struggles that you had been going through since, they retired you out, and dealing with the VA, and then when they amended the tsgli benefits in 2012, they included the salvage limb, right?
I believe so, yeah, because I fought for that too.
Yeah, and you were fighting for it for probably a few years before I met you. And then when I understood what tsgli benefits were for our men and women who've been injured, especially catastrophically, loss of limb use, loss of organ parts, and loss of everything else, you had told me about, fighting for, getting your salvage limb. So if you guys don't know, tsgli benefits, if you lose a limb, it's worth $50,000. If you lose a second limb, it's worth another $50,000. If you lose a third limb, that third limb is not worth anything. Believe it or not, they only give you up to 2 limbs out of the 4. And then when they amended it, they put salvage limbs in there. And so back in 2012, when we started working together and trying to get some of your benefits, we had to go a lot of different routes to get it recognized.
Yeah.
How long did we fight that for until you actually got your salvage limb $50,000 from the tsgli benefits?
Oh my gosh. It felt like years, but I mean, we did a lot. You did a lot, and talked to a lot of people, and the sad thing is people heard us, maybe listened, but it took going to a news station to get it out there for people to actually take it seriously. And I think within a day or two of that, Washington, D.C. Archives was calling me, making sure they had the correct records, the correct person. And then I think within a few days after that, I had my insurance money for that limb.
Yeah, and just so people understand, we went through how many times did you apply to get that salvage limb and tsgli benefits through the VA?
Oh gosh, I mean handfuls. I brought it up every time I walked into the VA, which was 2-3 times a week.
And even then, getting somebody to pay attention was hard. And what ended up happening is luckily my brother was the lieutenant governor of Michigan, And so we started going a different route, and we started, putting you in on a different level when it came to congressional hearings. And this is something that happens quite frequently, believe it or not. Depending on the reasons on why the VA says, no, you don't rate this, they turn you down. You put in for an appeal, they turn that appeal down. And over and over again, sometimes I believe, or I think it's like they want you just to give up.
That's exactly how I feel, and that's where I think a lot of that medication comes in too, because how can you think so clear-minded when you're really foggy from taking handfuls of pills 2 times a day?
Yeah, and I still remember to the day, I was down in St. Louis, Missouri, and I was driving on my way back up to Michigan after a Focus Marines Foundation 7-day transitional course that I was helping out with. And I was probably about 2 hours into my drive, and you gave me a call, and you were so excited that they finally recognized your injuries, and they finally, gave you your tsgli benefits.
Yeah, it wasn't even about the money. It was really about it being recognized and having that in my file,
Yeah, I mean, just being recognized for your injuries. I mean, I have a hard time fathoming the idea that it takes that much work to not only get the benefits you deserve, but to be service connected for it and be recognized for what you lost for our country. Hello, I'm Eric Calley from the Warfighters United podcast, and Modern Woodmen Fraternal Financial is hosting the 4th annual Trucking for Troops Veteran Raffle to benefit local veterans. The raffle's grand prize will be a brand new 2026 Chevrolet Silverado Crew Cab 4x4. Raffle tickets are $100 each. The drawing will take place on November 10th at 2 p.m. All proceeds from the raffle tickets will go towards supporting veterans. All tickets can be purchased at Modern Woodmen, Shaheen Chevrolet, or the VFW Post 2406 in Charlotte.
I'm not looking for anything, not a shiny coin, not a button, not money. It's the recognition and them understanding, yes, this female served our country. Yes, this female lost limbs. It's not just that guy. It's that girl too.
Yeah, and there's many other women out there across America that are in the same boat as you.
Yep, and maybe they don't have a voice like I do, or maybe they've just given up, but I don't want that for them.
Yeah,
they deserve these things that are clearly written in black and white.
Yeah, and I don't want that for them any bit as and I believe all of America, when they actually hear that this stuff is going on, they've got to jump on board and be able to help us out in making sure that our women, our men who have given their lives and much, much more for our country, just to be recognized for the injuries that they incurred in fighting for our freedoms. Yep. And
I agree.
And even with, that, I'd like to talk about, the VA, they give you one leg. Right? You have a prosthetic leg.
I have a prosthetic leg for everyday use, and then I have a swim leg so that I can go into the water, get in, get out of the water.
And what did they tell you when you tried to apply for that swim leg way back when?
I don't remember.
Well,
it made it really hard, though.
Yeah, no, well, and that's what I'm getting at. I believe Mary Freebed sponsored your first swim leg.
Yep, you're right. Thank you for reminding me. I can't remember yesterday sometimes. I had a VA for a swim leg. Well, I originally had asked them for one of those cheetah legs. It only had a week.
Say that again?
I go. One of those cheetah legs.
Uh-huh.
See those. And they told me, or actually they asked me, well, were you a runner? I was like, no. And they go, well, you can't have one of those. I can't have it, is what they told me. So a couple years later, I didn't even know they had swim legs. I found out they had one. I asked for one. They asked me, are you a swimmer? What do you mean by a swimmer? Like, laps in a pool? Do I swim in the ocean? I swim. So I had to fight to get that swim leg.
Yeah.
So I have one now, and I just hold on to that with dear life because it's the only water leg I have.
And so I just want everybody to understand. So you lose a leg for our country, almost two. And because you want to do something to get outdoors, to do an activity, to, enjoy life. And, after going through all the things you went through, the VA says, no, you don't need that. You don't need that to be happy. And it just astounds me that, thousands of Americans that are in the same boat as you are going through this, and all they're asking for is maybe a second leg. So if this one fails, I don't have to go 2 or 3 months until I can get a new socket or a new fitting or a new anything in it. And so go ahead.
I had a leg. It was probably about 10 years ago, but it was a mechanical, so it has kind of like a shock absorption thing in there. And it went out, which means I didn't have any tension in the knee. It was just a free swing. So every step I took, I'd have to kick that leg out, pound the heel on the ground, and make sure that it was planted. And I got the leg up to my civilian prosthetist to look at, and he's like, yeah, this thing is donezo. And I'm like, wow, I haven't even had it that long. Well, he looked up the serial number and found out it was a refurbished knee from like 6 years before that. So I don't know if they refurbish every knee that comes in. I know they're expensive, and I get that. But you can't just give me one and it's used and it breaks, and then you make me go, like you said, months without a knee. I don't want to be stuck in a wheelchair.
Yeah,
it's frustrating.
I tell you what, it makes me very angry, because if it's happening to you, it's happening to many more just like you throughout our nation.
In every state, yep.
And, the things that they expect you to do and go through is not easy. And when you want to do something for yourself that could help you not only mentally, but physically, getting some exercise, being able to go swim, being able to run, or, why do we have to prove that you're a swimmer? Why do we have to prove that you're a runner?
Right.
You pretty much gave your life for this country a few times.
Well, it's the same way with the caregiver. I know there's like the caregiver program through some of the VAs and stuff. Like, my husband is my caregiver. I get up every morning because I can. I push myself every single day because I can. I really don't want to because I feel sick or I'm in pain. Mm-hmm. But I do because I'm still here. But I have to prove to the VA that I can do all these things so that I can get a leg. But I can't prove it to them too much, because then why is my husband my caregiver? Like, they don't understand that either. They give it to you and then they want to take it away from you. I'm not getting any better. I'm slowly getting worse as the days go on.
So what you were saying is pretty much the VA wants you to be professionally disabled and not be able to do anything to get the rights that you deserve.
Yep. It's either one or the other.
Yeah.
You either are really, really broken or you're not broken enough. There's no happy medium. They're just not going to help you.
Yeah, and that just dumbfounds me sometimes. And when I was talking to another guy on a podcast, throughout the process, it's almost like they want you to be disabled and keep it that way versus moving forward and trying to move on with your life. to maybe have some happiness and enjoy some times with, getting out there and doing things versus reclusing yourself and staying home.
Yeah, I think I think I can speak for most veterans who are really injured and going through it. They really are just looking for just a small little bit of quality of life from what they used to have. And really, it's just a struggle to get there.
Well, I mean, especially with all the barriers that are put in front of you.
Yes.
I mean, I can only imagine, but I can't think that that's easy in any sort of way. And these are just some of the barriers we're pointing out, but we're starting a new fight, a new barrier that we're trying to overcome. And it's about infertility and being able to have children, being able to, start a family. And I know you've been fighting that for 13 years. Tell me a little bit about that.
Back when I had gone to Chicago VA, one of my biggest complaints was I stopped having periods. I didn't have one for 4.5 years, and that was from date of injury to going there to the Hines VA. So they ran some tests on me, did something where they force a period, and there's a bit of a procedure involved and medication. So I started to have a period once every other blue moon, and it just wasn't normal for a woman. And so I continuously sought that through gynecology, and I had bad pap smear after bad pap smear come back, and that's not really good for a woman. And I noticed I really wasn't having periods again. So I went back to the VA, I think it was in 2012, and I expressed to them, I think there's something wrong. I never had an issue in the past. I was one of those perfect 28-day period people, 7 days on, and then that's it. So to come home and have all this happen, I know there's something wrong. The VA, the Saginaw, Michigan VA, sent me to a fertility clinic in Saginaw to be tested. They ran their tests, and the doctor told me that my egg supply was diminished at the age of 31, 32. My chances of having children were slim to none because what eggs I did have left were so damaged, and that I should look into IVF if I wanted to have a child. I was single at the time, definitely wasn't something on my list of things to do, but now I know that I have something wrong with me. From that day forward, I have been pursuing the VA about them recognizing my lost inability to bear or produce children because I can carry them, I just cannot make them. Mm-hmm. And they have ignored me, slid me under the rug, left me on a stack on somebody's desk for the past 13 years. And we ended up, go ahead.
During those 13 years, you've actually tried to do that and have kids?
We did. My husband and I, by some sort of miracle, did get pregnant. I immediately figured something was not going to be right, and I ended up losing the baby at 7.5 weeks. It just stopped developing. And for the next year after that, we pursued IVF doctors, medications. We tried our own IUI, they're called, where they extract my eggs and then mix them up and then they put them back in. It just didn't work because my egg supply is dead. So my sister, she volunteered to donate her eggs to us, and through a couple of grants and a whole bunch of money out of our pockets, we were able to get pregnant for our son, who we have now. But it was all basically through love and help through strangers and friends, and our own money and wanting to have a child so badly. And no help from the VA, none. They actually told me that I was eligible for IVF treatment when I was laying in bed in January of 2007, just after getting blown up. They told me that's when they would have paid for it.
Right afterwards.
Right after.
But, 7 years down the road when you meet the love of your life, not anymore.
Yeah. Nope.
And I could only imagine how angered you were when that happened. I mean, I'm angry just hearing you talk about it.
Yeah, I was stunned. I mean, I was literally laying in bed with a leg blown off and another one that was held together by some crazy contraption held up to my bed. This was before they even put the rod in, and they were telling me that's when they could have done the IVF. I didn't even know that I wasn't fertile at that point. I mean, I was on IV drips of some really heavy duty stuff. I had some sort of sickness in my body. It was called acetaminobacter, some sort of bacterial infection that I had for like 3 months, that I was on 3 drips for that, trying to get it out of my blood. So I was supposed to impregnate myself and make those decisions at that time. You got me on that one.
Yeah, I'm floored. I'm floored, yeah. and like I said before, and they're doing this to one, they've done it to many. And, this definitely needs to change. And so, 2017 came around, they amended the tsgli benefits again. And, it's this loss of organ use, it's this loss of, anatomical loss of the vulvar uterus, vagina canal, loss of the, loss of an ovary, loss of a lot of different things, rate money for tsgli. Why do you think over the last couple of years that you've been denied on this stuff? Like how does that work?
If I'm being honest with you, I think people are not taking me seriously, or I hate to say it, but I'm a woman, and maybe they're like, oh, here's another one, and I'm just getting forgotten, or I'm just getting left on somebody's desk, because I have been in people's offices, tons and tons of paperwork. I've gone far back before I even deployed to show that I was a normal, regular person as far as those female things go. I've proven it over and over again to the VA that me being blown up in Iraq is the cause of this, and I never hear anything back.
Yeah, when I found out a few months ago that, you were going through all this, immediately, I started making some phone calls, and it was kind of funny. I called my older brother, and he called the congressman in your area, over by Rochester, and all of a sudden it got switched. That congressman handed it over to another lady who was supposed to work on your behalf, and then all of a sudden it got to Congressman Barrett's office. And so, Congressman Barrett's office, almost 2 months ago, started working on, getting you service connected for not being able to have children, not being able to, be a woman, so to speak. And, they told us, 2 weeks? And
2 weeks to a month, and I haven't heard anything. He emailed me a case number, but I don't even know how to look up the case number. And I've emailed him numerous times, and he's just...
And it's just amazing to me how some of this stuff works. And just like the last time when, we had to go to Congress for them to have a hearing to give people like yourself the not only the recognition for your injuries, to make those service connected, but to give you what you should be awarded and what you should have been awarded back 15 years ago. It just floors me. And so now here we are. We're fighting that battle again. And what has been the hardest thing for you in fighting these battles?
Being taken seriously, being heard, being listened to. I mean, I can take the punches. I can take the waiting. I'm a very patient person. I'll give you everything that you need. It's just maybe the lack of care on their part, or I want to be heard.
Yeah, well, we're going to make sure that we're going to make sure you're heard and acknowledged. And you've talked to other women who are in this same position. What do they feel like?
Yeah. Well, one in particular, she didn't even know that she was had fertility issues due to her service time. And 7 years later, she did a 7-year fight, and she got her service connected. I really I don't know. I hope to maybe be a loud voice for this. I'm not one to stop. I keep pushing. I'm a fighter. I want to help these issues where it's getting more legs, whether it's just being recognized for everything they've done for our country, along with the men. Yeah,
no, and you guys deserve all that recognition, if not 10 times more. And
well, I could tell you what, I guarantee you some of our balls are a lot bigger than some of theirs. So we should all be equal when it comes to this.
Yeah, no, and I agree 100%. And and the number one thing is, if you're a woman out there and you're going through some of the same battles that Michelle and some of the others have went through, and getting that service connected, getting what's rightfully due, getting a second leg, so if one goes out, doesn't put you in a wheelchair for months until they fix it, or if you like to swim, getting a swim leg, if you like to run, getting a run leg. I think our nation owes it to all of our military veterans, women or men, who lose a limb for this country, to at least give them the limbs for them to be active and be a normal civilian again, and not be looked at in a wheelchair because your leg broke and it's going to take 2.5 months to get in to even try to assess the problem to get it fixed. I mean,
yeah, the appointment times are wretched.
Yeah, I mean, it was so wretched that you started going out to a private place with your private insurance to do it that way because you didn't want to wait forever.
Yep. That's very true.
Yeah, well, I'm here to tell you, Michelle, we're gonna create this voice. We're gonna get this out to as many people as we can, because if it wasn't for courageous people like you, who are willing to fight, who are willing to tell their story, who are willing to put it out there, because once another woman who's dealing with the same thing hears this podcast or the story or whatnot, they might not even know that they rate some of this stuff.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, how did you find out that loss of organ use and this and that was even a something you rated?
That's funny that you asked me that. The VA actually handed me the booklet that tells you everything that you rate for, how the ratings go, and I read everything, and I saw exactly what I would have benefited from, and so that's what I fought for. I didn't know that there was insurance for having your leg, but it being damaged and things like that. They don't tell you. You have to go out there and find it and do your research. Even though it's there, it's in black and white. They just make you find it.
Yeah, and that's amazing to me. There's got to be a list of all of our guys who are Purple Heart recipients, who have been wounded, who have lost limbs somewhere, whether it's Walter Reed, any of our medical hospitals. There's got to be a compilation of a list. And you would think that, out of a 0.5% of America that fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, just a tiny 0.5% that the people that put their lives on the line and we're willing to give it all for our country would be important enough when they change the rules and regulations or the guidelines and on what service connectability is, that they would go back through and say, hey, do you know they just changed this? Do you know that you can be service connected? Instead, they expect our veterans to spend all their money, everything that they have to be able to, try to produce a family. And then, when it doesn't happen, the devastation that probably was I couldn't even imagine. Yeah. And then for you to find out, hey, if you service connect me for not being able to have children, back 10 years ago, a lot of this frustration and anger of paying out of my own pocket, trying to, have kids and going through IVF treatments, which are super expensive. That's something that they would have paid for.
Astronomically expensive. Yeah. And I get that. Maybe they don't want to pay for it, but our people are coming home with fertility issues or limb loss or other, brain injuries and things like that. Are you just going to tell someone with a brain injury, we're not going to do that for you because you're a vegetable now? They still deserve some quality of life too.
Yeah. And for men, the testosterone therapies and stuff that they're starting to recognize now kind of falls in line with what we're talking about with our male service members. And, that's just starting to create traction after 10 years. And there's way more than that. I'm just scraping the surface here.
Right.
But, these are definitely things that we need to fix. And Michelle, if you have anything that you could say to other women who are around the United States, what would you tell them?
Be as loud as you can. Don't stop fighting until you get what you are rightfully deserved. There's people out there that will listen. I'll be one to listen, and I'll be one to voice for them. Just give them my name and number, but just don't stop.
And I tell you, Michelle, you are probably one of the strongest individuals I've ever met in my whole entire life.
Stop it.
The way that you fought for years and are still fighting, the way that you're starting to use your story and create, a movement, a voice for all the female veterans out there, and, using this to catalyst some change, it's just courageous. I mean, that there's no other word I could even
I appreciate you saying that. I really do. I don't feel it to be courageous. I just feel like it's something I need to do. And I'm tired of being shushed and swiped aside and stuff like that. Because I know how bad it hurts me and how painful it is. I don't know how other people deal with their pain and stuff. But, if I can just help one person get what they rightfully deserve through all this work and bitching and stuff like that, then my job here is done.
Well, I tell you, Michelle, I'm honored to have you as a friend. I'm honored to stand to the right or left of you, and you're never forgotten. Your wounds are never forgotten, and no matter if you get to that dark place sometimes where you think that people aren't paying attention, know that I always will. And there's a lot of people just like me out there, and once they hear this, I'm hoping that those people will start jumping on board to, helping me, helping you create a difference for all the women and all the others. And so, if you have a story like this and you want to jump on board, you can go to warfightersunited.com. You can email me at warfightersunitedpodcast@gmail.com. And let's all work together to make the biggest difference in America for our veterans, to our women veterans who've given all to serve our country for our freedom, our men veterans who have done the same. let's create that voice and let's make as big as roar as we can, right, Michelle?
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, it was very nice talking to you today, and I will talk to you soon. Okay.
Yes, you will. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Hoorah.
To speak with Eric Calley and Warfighters United, you can email him at eric@warfightersunited.com or call 517-699-0111.